Good evening. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Gadi Schwartz coming to you from Los Angeles. And here's some of the stories we're watching tonight. The CEO of one of the fastest growing artificial intelligence companies out there is not only open to government intervention, he says it's essential.
I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong. And we want to be vocal about that. We want to work with the government to prevent that from happening.
And Elon Musk sits down with our colleagues over at CNBC to talk about a lot of the controversy left in his wake.
You know, you do some tweets that seem to be, or at least give support to some who would call others conspiracy theories.
Well, yes, but I mean, honestly, you know, some of these conspiracy theories have turned out to be true.
And the government could run out of money in a little more than 2 weeks, but today's meeting between the president and congressional leaders seemed to suggest otherwise.
It is possible to get a deal by the end of the week. It's not that difficult to get to an agreement.
Hey there. Tonight, I want to start this show with something we take extremely seriously here. We spend a lot of time covering the future of technology, including AI and the lack of regulation. Well, today was a rare day, and we saw this somewhat of a super alignment. We saw massive leaders in AI speaking out, almost pleading for regulation, and we saw bipartisan lawmakers seeming to agree, saying regulation needs to happen. But what does regulating something that has the potential to touch almost every aspect of our lives look like? Well, today we saw Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and Satya Nadella, powerful CEOs, all giving important context to the promise and the danger of AI, and all three are in agreement that we need rules and fast.
What percentage do you give the chance that it will destroy humanity?
Well, the advent of artificial general intelligence is called a singularity because it is so hard to predict what will happen after that. It's very much a double-edged sword. I think there's a strong probability that it will make life much better, and that we'll have an age of abundance. And there's some chance that it goes wrong and destroys humanity. Hopefully that chance is small, but it's not zero. And so I think we want to take whatever actions we can think of to minimize the probability that AI goes wrong.
And you've given people in our institutions and you all time to come to grips with this technology, to understand it, to find its limitations, its benefits, the regulations we need around it, what it takes to make it safe. That's really important. Going off to build a super powerful AI system in secret and then dropping it on the world all at once, I think would not go well.
What, I'll call it, societal choices do we make given this new technology? We have to make political and cultural and societal decisions that help us get the balance right, which is we definitely want the benefits of this technology and we want to mitigate the unintended consequences.
Now, there is a lot to cover, so we brought in a panel to break it all down. NBC News technology analyst Joanna Stern, along with futurist and ethicist, law professor at Duke University, Nita Farhani. She's also the author of The Battle for Your Brain, Defending the Right to Think Freely in the Age of Neurotechnology. Welcome to you both. Joanna, let's start with you. Here's Altman, real fast, expressing his worst fear about artificial intelligence. Take a listen.
My worst fears are that we, the field, the technology, the industry, cause significant harm to the world. I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong, and we want to be vocal about that. We want to work with the government to prevent that from happening.
Not an average day when a bunch of CEOs and lawmakers seem to be agreeing on regulation for something and also share the same concerns about the piece of technology. And yet, watching that, you're kind of left with this idea that not everybody that was participating in that conversation knew exactly what was going on. Did you have that impression?
I did have that impression, but I would say that this hearing went way better than what we've seen from the social media hearings. There was really, it felt like engagement from the lawmakers to understand this technology, and it didn't feel as combative. And so I think this is all coming out of those hearings. I mean, I think for many lawmakers, they felt like the regulation around social media was a black eye. They didn't get to it fast enough. They didn't see it coming. And now this is an opportunity for them to get ahead of AI regulation, but they have to understand it. And I think we've seen over the last number of years of these hearings that these lawmakers don't fully understand the technology.
Yeah, AI 101 is not something that you expect to see in the halls of Congress. Nita, a second Capitol Hill hearing on the federal use of AI also happened today. Here's how one ACLU counsel framed the federal use of AI in his opening statement. It's pretty important. Take a listen.
We need federal regulation and enforcement to protect basic fairness and constitutional rights in government programs that use AI and automated decision-making systems.
So that's the thing. We've already seen AI being used by the private sector, by the public sector. The codes are being written here on the West Coast. Laws are being written pretty slowly in D.C. So I do want to ask about how government programs are using AI right now, and what are the guardrails that are necessary here?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that the difficulty and the reason for that testimony today is that it's already being used in high-stakes settings. That's everything from, government systems, IRS, back end of, search across the government. And there isn't a lot of transparency in how it's being used. And in the same ways that there are risks of algorithmic bias, there are risks of, kind of not understanding fully what the implications of the technology are and what the risks of misuse are. Using it in high-stakes settings like that without the kinds of transparency and oversight that we need are troubling. So, having both of these hearings on the same day, I think really just underscores the point that everybody understands we need to start getting much greater transparency into these systems, and we need to start regulating them. The real problem is not getting agreement on that fact. It's figuring out what it is that we can do and how quickly we can move to make those changes happen.
It's pretty wild because we cover this every single day, and it almost feels like when you start looking at this idea that AI needs to be regulated, you're like, okay, well, there's going to be this one big law that regulates all of AI. And then you start to realize that, no, it's almost like you need a clause in every single bill that passes from here on out to deal with AI, because it's going to be infused into so much of what we use. And then you start thinking about guardrails. And Joanna, one thing that struck me during these hearings was Sam Altman talking about almost like a business license or an AI license, and the idea that maybe you should have an AI license to operate AI. What did you take from that?
I thought this was a really interesting point, too, and gave us a little bit of a hint of how things could have been different with some of the social media companies when it comes to regulation. Really, the idea from what I understood was that each of these companies would have to agree to a certain set of rules and regulations. And if you agreed to that, you'd get this license and you could operate. If you were to break those rules, then they would take away that license, right? And so back to the points of that we've been having in this conversation, what are those rules and regulations? We still don't know, but I like the idea that these companies would have to agree to them, that we would have this body of rules and regulations, which we frankly have not even had around privacy in this country. We don't even have a national privacy law.
And Nita, I mean, when it comes to just starting step one of regulating AI, do you think that something like a possible license would be a step in the right direction?
Yeah, one of the things that people are talking about is the possibility of creating an agency that would oversee the developments in AI. And much in the same way that like the Food and Drug Administration provides different, depending on what it is that you are introducing into the marketplace, has different standards and different requirements. The same kind of thing could happen if there was an agency that was overseeing AI and looking at both the context to which it was being deployed and also having pre-market or post-market surveillance requirements or licensing requirements in a similar fashion. So there are models that exist. There just isn't yet the expertise or an agency that's tasked with doing so. And I think that's where you see a lot of the conversation coalescing right now.
And Joanna, another thing that we heard during that CNBC interview with Elon Musk, it was almost the origin story behind OpenAI. He said it was poetic. I mean, poetic is a way to describe it. According to him, he says that he is the reason that OpenAI exists. He says that he invested something like $50 million. He says that he came up with the name because he wanted it to be an open source nonprofit. Also, because of some argument where he was accused of being a speciesist, and that he was like, yes, of course I'm a speciesist. I would like to not have, these AI overlords. Obviously, there's a bunch of history there, right? But how has that relationship changed over the years, Elon Musk and OpenAI? And how has the scope of OpenAI also changed?
Yeah, I mean, I heard it. I was imagining the Netflix scene in my head of who might play each of those characters and what happens at the end. I mean, certainly some drama there. But yes, obviously, OpenAI started with the idea of this being an open source organization, a nonprofit that would work towards the research and betterment of AI in society. And obviously, they still say they do a lot of that work, but they also have a for-profit arm that has investment, the biggest investment being from Microsoft. And that is the way the company has sort of shifted and moved, and clearly, the company also now charges and has a consumer product, one of the biggest consumer products in AI. So the company has evolved since what Musk described in that dramatic room.
Dramatic room, indeed. Joanna, Nita, thank you so much for joining us. This conversation will continue night after night, and we hope you will come back. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Thanks.
And the number of migrants crossing the southern border seems to be dropping. Last week's peak of more than 11,000 apprehensions a day has put new pressures on one of the biggest cities in the country. New York City Mayor Eric Adams says border states have been busing more than 65,000 migrants in the past couple of months. While the city has opened over 140 emergency shelters, there still isn't enough space, even after tapping hotels for help. Now, the city is starting to turn to school gymnasiums to house migrants. 3 Brooklyn schools in Coney Island, Sunset Park, and East New York will all open their doors. NBC News national correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has more on how long the city can keep up.
Parents here at this public school in Brooklyn just finished meeting with school administrators over Zoom, and they just learned that 71 cots have been set up inside this gym, and they expect to get just 1 hour's notice before migrants are brought here, potentially within the next few days, although the timing really is unclear. The parents here expect to protest once again tomorrow. Now, this is an ongoing controversy that has really been spilling from the southern border to major cities across the country, including Denver, Chicago, New York, of course, and now its suburbs. Mayor Eric Adams here has blasted the Biden administration for not doing enough to deal with this migrant influx. And he says that city taxpayers here in New York will be on the hook for more than $4 billion by next year. So he's also announced plans to potentially use 20 freestanding gyms in public schools in New York City. Again, the details are still being worked out, but parents here have been furious. We spoke with a few of them a little earlier this afternoon.
I think it was absurd. I think it was, I have no words. It's not, I think that this shouldn't be on school grounds.
Well, he needs to first inform people before he does anything first. And just give us a heads up and what's the solution, what he wants to do, what's his purpose with this. You know what I'm saying? He could have waited up till the school year is over. We only have a couple of weeks.
In addition to the battle over housing migrants in public school gyms, the mayor has also announced plans to house them at an iconic New York hotel, the Roosevelt Hotel, which has up to 1,000 rooms. Plans are being made to transport them in the coming days as well. And all this as the battle heats up in the New York suburbs. Orange County officials have sued New York City, as well as a few hotels that have taken in some migrants already to try and stop that transport. All this as the immigration battle heats up far from the southern border. Back to you.
NBC's Gabe Gutierrez, thanks so much. And still ahead this hour, the president is cutting his trip to the G7 short, all to handle a standoff over that debt ceiling. Kelly O'Donnell will have more from the White House. And it's primary day in Kentucky. We've got more on how it could hint at what's to come in 2024. And later, we will hear directly from that fisherman we talked about last night, the one who caught his own shark attack on tape. That's next, so stay tuned now.
Ah! Tiger shark! Tiger shark ran me.
Welcome back, and here's some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says he'll be sending state law enforcement and the National Guard to the Texas border. Now, that's a move that comes as the White House reports a steady decline in migrants crossing the southern border. It also comes before DeSantis is expected to officially announce his presidential bid. And today, a massive fire sent huge clouds of smoke into the sky over downtown Portland. Now, that fire broke out in an apartment complex. Several people and a dog had to be rescued before firefighters were told to fall back because of the conditions that had become too dangerous to be close to. The city of San Diego says it has taken SeaWorld to court. The city says the controversial theme park owes them about $10 million in back rent. Last week, SeaWorld released its earnings for the first quarter of 2023, and it recorded nearly $300 million, up more than 8% compared to the first quarter of last year. And the Tony Awards will continue despite the WGA writers' strike. The Writers' Union agreed to let the show go on without picketing the event, but we can expect the show to look a little bit different this year to comply with the union's requests. Those changes have not yet been announced. And remember the two big banks that failed earlier this year, Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank? Well, the executives from those companies were grilled by senators on Capitol Hill today. Lawmakers wanted to know two things: why their banks went under and how it could have been avoided. In the end, the execs blamed external factors for the collapse, while the senators blamed them. And the clock is ticking in Congress as they are running out of days to act on the debt ceiling. Despite a critical meeting earlier today, White House and congressional leaders have still not reached a deal to raise the country's borrowing limit. So Biden appears to be cutting a trip overseas short to come back to the bargaining table. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen thinks the U.S. could run out of money by June 1st, just over 2 weeks from now.
A default could cause widespread suffering as Americans lose the income they need to get by. And the resulting income shock could lead to a recession that destroys many American jobs and businesses. The U.S. economy hangs in the balance. The livelihoods of millions of Americans do too. So there's no time to waste. Congress should address the debt limit as soon as possible.
NBC senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell joins us now. Kelly, how did negotiations go today? What do we know?
Well, there was something that really stood out, and there was a more positive tone today. This was the second face-to-face meeting between the president and the top congressional leaders. Staff-level meetings have been going on, and everyone was saying they agree that default can't happen. And at the same time, they said they believe it's possible to get the workings of a deal within a matter of days. And so that, it seems, has led the president to make the decision that he will split his plans for overseas travel to some important world summits that have been scheduled for many months. He will go to Japan tomorrow for the G7, which brings together the largest 7 world economies. But he will be back on Sunday, leaving for Japan, back for the U.S. on Sunday in order to be present for negotiations. That means he will skip stops in Australia and Papua New Guinea. That is important because, of course, those were important for their own reasons, and it's hard when the U.S. president does not attend those events. But he says it's critical to focus on the debt negotiations. And one of the things he's also done is he's named some top senior aides who have expertise in this area to be the day-to-day negotiators while he is away, and to try to bring the conversation to a narrower point so they can hopefully get down to the key issues and get something done. Gadi?
And Kelly, what are those key issues right now? What are the big sticking points?
Well, in big, broad terms, Republicans want to see spending cuts in order to raise the debt limit. Democrats very much want the debt limit to be raised to allow the country to pay its bills without talking about cuts. They would like to do cuts in a separate conversation. Well, we're at that point now where real negotiations are happening. So one of the issues is Republicans would like to see a work requirement attached to certain kinds of public assistance. So if you get federal government benefits, you may have to demonstrate work hours in order to get that. Democrats say they don't want to go down that road. There are some of those requirements that already exist on the books. But, for example, they don't want anyone to lose health care. They don't want changes to Medicaid, which helps poor Americans with their medical care. And so those are some of the ideas. And, of course, they're trying to find ways to cut. Another thing that's talked about, COVID money that was not spent. How can they try to put that back into the general coffers? So those are some of the things that are at play right now. Gadi?
Kelly O'Donnell, thanks so much. And in Kentucky, we now have the Republican contender who will take on Democratic Governor Andy Beshear in November. Attorney General Daniel Cameron secured the nomination just minutes ago, getting over 45% of the vote. He's the first black gubernatorial nominee for a major party in the state's history. He beat 11 contenders, including former Trump UN Ambassador Kelly Craft, who was endorsed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. NBC News correspondent Dasha Burns joins us now. Dasha, lay it out for us here. AG Daniel Cameron, he won by a wide margin, right? Was that something that was expected?
Yeah. Well, look, Gadi, he was the front runner from the very start. Kelly Craft got in much later in the race, and that endorsement from Governor DeSantis came in late last night, so in the 11th hour there. But look, at the end of the day, this race, why it was so hotly watched nationally was because it was seen as a sort of bellwether for the Republican Party about what would win out here and how significant Trump's hold on the party remains in these primaries. Look, Daniel Cameron had the former president's endorsement, and it is something that he hammered in his ads and on the campaign trail. And as we talk to voters, that is something that was really significant to folks, again, in the primary. Now, what that means for the general election is a different question, but clearly that was successful for Cameron in this case. He won by a wide margin. He also did campaign on some of those kitchen table issues and on his differing opinions from the Democratic governor on COVID policy, which also, according to the voters we talked to, won him some love from the Republicans in the state, Gadi.
And Dasha, what do you think we're going to see in this head-to-head between Beshear and Cameron?
It's going to be tough. Beshear, while a Democrat in this largely red state, has been very popular. It's going to be a tight race. It's going to be likely an expensive race. And to that point, with the Trump endorsement, while that's been something that he has really put front and center in this primary race, will that be helpful or harmful to Cameron in the general election? We have seen that be maybe more of a burden to Republican candidates when they're trying to win over some of those more moderate voters in a general election in a head-to-head with a Democrat like Beshear that does have support from independents as well. So we're going to have to see. It's going to be a really, really significant race here, Gadi.
Dasha Burns, thanks so much. And coming up, the abortion debate isn't just a healthcare issue or an election issue. It is impacting where the Space Command Center is going to go. We're going to explain that. And a Florida teacher is under investigation. The reason? She showed her class a Disney movie with a gay character. But first, you got to see this. A scary moment at the Luxembourg airport. A massive cargo Lux airplane lost part of its landing gear right as it touched down for an emergency landing. Now, that plane was headed for Chicago but had to turn around because the undercarriage wouldn't retract. Luckily, the plane stopped safely after all this happened. And if you want to get an idea of how big that plane is, it can haul nearly 250,000 pounds of freight. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's get you caught up in 30 seconds. Today, tech executives urged lawmakers that AI systems must be regulated, and those lawmakers agreed. Now, how that will happen is still yet to be seen. And migrants crossing the southern border have decreased significantly since Title 42 went away, but the number being housed or being bused from that border to metro areas like New York and Washington, D.C. has increased. New York is now turning to school gymnasiums to house migrants. And a debt ceiling deal could be done by this weekend, according to House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. He also admits that he and the White House are still far apart on negotiations. And today, the memorial honoring those killed at a Texas mall mass shooting has been removed. This comes more than a week after a gunman shot and killed 8 people, including 3 children. At least 7 more people were hurt, and some of them are still in the hospital. Now, this is happening the same day one of the survivors is speaking out about just how close he came to losing his life. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky has his story.
Yeah, for the first time since this horrific shooting took place at this outlet mall here in Allen, Texas, we had a chance to hear directly from one of the survivors, 46-year-old Irvin Walker, who shared that he had just dropped off his girlfriend at the mall on that busy Saturday when he realized something was horribly wrong, describing how he felt the impact of bullet fragments strike his body before he realized there was even a threat or a shooter just feet away. Authorities described how Mr. Walker's car was riddled with bullets and how he was a very lucky man to be alive.
The bullet was about this close to his heart and to his subclavian artery. If either of those fragments had gotten any deeper, he may not be here. He could not have possibly not been here today.
I knew I was bleeding profusely, so I got out my vehicle and I saw what looked like a security officer approaching on his Sedgwick, and I ran towards that way.
Unfortunately, by the time that gunman was killed by a police officer, 8 people lost their lives, another 10 wounded, and we know of those original 10 patients, 4 still remain receiving much-needed care here inside this McKinney, Texas hospital. As for the scene itself, authorities have since handed it back to the mall management company, but there is still no timeline on when it'll be reopening to the public.
NBC's Morgan Chesky, thanks so much. And there's some growing speculation that the White House is trying to stop U.S. Space Command from moving its headquarters to Alabama. And the reason? Well, apparently the administration is concerned about the state's restrictive abortion law, according to U.S. officials. Right now, Space Command's headquarters are in Colorado, but the Trump administration decided to move the headquarters to Huntsville, Alabama, a move that has not been without some controversy. NBC's Courtney Kuby has more.
Gadi, the Biden administration may be laying the groundwork not to move U.S. Space Command from Colorado to Huntsville, Alabama, according to several officials who are familiar with these discussions. Now, you'll recall that in January of 2021, then President Donald Trump announced that U.S. Space Command would move its headquarters to Huntsville, Alabama. Well, soon after the Biden administration came into office, they ordered several reviews. The Department of Defense Inspector General and the GAO both looked at the decision-making process to move the headquarters to Alabama, and both found that despite the fact there were some abnormalities with how they came to the decision, that ultimately the decision-making process to move it to Alabama was sound. Well, several months later, late in 2022, the White House then directed Frank Kendall, the Air Force Secretary, to do another review of the process to determine whether, in fact, Spacecom should still be moved to Huntsville, Alabama. Now, that review is ongoing. In the meantime, U.S. Space Command continues to build out in Colorado. And according to the head of Spacecom, it will be fully mission capable by the end of this year there in Colorado. Now, what viewers may be surprised by is the reason for why this Space Command may not go to Alabama. According to the officials we spoke with, one of the factors is the abortion politics. So the laws against some women's reproductive care in Alabama. Where Spacecom would go is Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville. There is no military medical facility or hospital at Redstone, so the U.S. military members and their dependents who are stationed there are relying on the local economy or civilian health care. Well, with the restricted abortion laws and reproductive care in Alabama, those service members and their dependents would be forced to go to other states for their reproductive care, including for abortion care. According to the officials we spoke with, that is not sitting well with some in the Biden administration, and they're now looking at whether the decision should be reversed completely. Now, that decision at this point is still up to Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall, but according to the officials we spoke with, the Biden administration is weighing in heavily. For now, all plans to move Spacecom to Alabama are halted. Gadi?
Courtney Kuby, thanks so much. Now let's head to Florida. It has been a few months since Governor DeSantis there signed the Parental Rights and Education Act into law. That's the bill that critics have dubbed the Don't Say Gay law. And a public school teacher there is now under investigation for possibly violating that law by showing her 5th grade class a PG-rated Disney movie with a gay character. NBC's Zincle Isamwa has a story.
A 5th grade Florida teacher is speaking out.
I just wanted to come here and tell you my truth, my story about what actually happened.
Jenna Barbie says she's under investigation by the Florida Department of Education for showing Disney's animated movie Strange World to her class at Winding Waters.
Is a character in the movie LGBTQ? Absolutely. Is that why I showed it? No.
The 2022 movie is an animated comedy adventure about a family of explorers overcoming differences. It features a romantic side plot between 2 male characters.
Didn't see that coming.
On TikTok, Barbie says she played the movie after a morning of standardized testing, adding that parents did sign permission slips allowing PG films to be shown without any restrictions.
I thought it would be a great time to give them a brain break by showing a movie that related to what we were learning about in school. Other 5th grade classes did this as well.
In a May 5th letter from the state's Department of Education, seen by NBC News, the DOE appears to deem the teacher's action as, quote, inappropriate conduct. The letter also instructs any potential witnesses or individuals with relevant documents to submit them to the designated office within 2 weeks. This incident comes as Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis continues restricting curriculum on race and sexuality, including the 2022 so-called Don't Say Gay bill, also known as the Parental Rights in Education Law. In Barbie's case, the press secretary for the Florida Department of Education tells NBC News in part, "We can neither confirm nor deny that the department has a pending investigation regarding the referenced individual," adding, "I understand that the individual in question has discussed her case publicly. However, we will not allow politics and media pressure to dictate our process." Barbie says she's being targeted by a school board member.
The reason I was turned in is because one of the split students was a school board member's daughter.
At last week's school board meeting, she identified the school board member as Shannon Rodriguez. Rodriguez responded during the board meeting, accusing Barbie of stripping the innocence of her 10-year-old child, adding that the teacher did not get the movie approved by the school.
Where were the protocols that are supposed to be in place? This is concerning the movie that was played for my daughter in her classroom.
NBC News reached out to Rodriguez for comment, but has not heard back. In a statement, the Hernando School District acknowledged the romantic side plot in the film, saying in part, "In the future, this movie will not be shown." The school administration and the district's professional standards department is currently reviewing the matter to see if further corrective action is required. Teacher Barbie says she's concerned for her 5th graders, who she says were pulled out of class to answer questions from the DOE investigator.
And for those of you who are throwing hate my way without knowing me or my true intentions, you may learn a thing or two from that movie.
Zincle Isamwa, thanks so much. This next story is wild. If you've been here to California recently, you've probably gotten a glimpse of the snow-capped mountains from a distance. But to see them from the air, to see just how much snow is still up there and starting to melt, is staggering. Our good friend Steve Patterson hitched a ride on a plane full of scientists doing regular flights to help millions of people all across California stay safe from an epic runoff that could be disastrous if all that snow melts too fast. Here's his story.
From 23,000 feet, it feels like an expanse of the Arctic Circle. But this is modern-day California. All this snow, a rare sight, high above the Sierra Mountains.
Absolutely remarkable. The coating of the snowpack across the mountains. Or something out of Star Wars.
It's a result of the state's weather whiplash. More than 30 back-to-back atmospheric rivers, flipping the threat from historic drought to historic flood risk. 55 billion tons of snow, enough to fill every major state reservoir twice.
For football fans, you could fill the Rose Bowl about 85,000 times.
Wow. Snow scientist and pilot Thomas Painter has been tasked with leading aerial expeditions above the snowpack, collecting sophisticated first-of-its-kind data using high-tech sensors.
Our information gives the complete picture over the mountain basin. So again, we're touching every square foot of snowpack with our lasers and spectrometers.
The goal, to give local water districts a much better model of the snowpack, previously only possible through simplistic measurements, so the state has a better idea of when and where flooding could occur as temperatures rise and the snow melts, posing a huge risk to millions in low-lying communities.
Climatologists say no matter what, the snowpack will lead to flooding in California. There's simply too much water. How much and where really depends on the weather. An early heat wave could cause a lot of trouble.
Steve Patterson, thanks so much. And last night we showed you that incredible video of a fisherman surviving a shark attack a mile away from the coast of Hawaii. Now we're hearing directly from him, and here's his story in his own words.
Scott Haraguchi was fishing in a kayak off the coast of Oahu when he got the surprise of a lifetime.
Ah! Tiger shark! Tiger shark ran me.
I hear this whooshing sound that sounds like a boat turned off its motor and is heading towards me. I thought it was a turtle.
But it was definitely not a turtle. Watch again in slow motion as a tiger shark Haraguchi thinks was about 10 feet long and a few hundred pounds rams his small boat with tremendous force.
If it wanted to, it could have punctured my kayak and sunk it or continue to harass me and knock me in the water.
It wasn't until watching the GoPro video at home that Haraguchi realized just how fortunate he was to escape the predator unharmed.
I realized it was a shark, but I didn't realize how close its face and teeth had come to me. I think I luckily hit it in the eye or near the eye, so it swam off and didn't want any more kicks in the face from me.
There have been at least 4 recorded shark attacks in Hawaii so far this year. The highest number of shark bites in the world typically happen in Florida. 13-year-old Ella Reed unfortunately made that list last week. The soon-to-be 8th grader telling Hoda and Savannah about her encounter with a bull shark off the Florida coast near her home.
I was just doing everything I could to get it off me.
Reed, who ultimately needed 19 stitches, suffered bites on her torso, arm, finger, and knee, but managed to fight the shark off.
I didn't even mean to hit it in the nose. I was just trying to hit it, like, anywhere.
Back in Hawaii, Haraguchi says he's grateful to be alive.
I've never had a shark attack me or approach me that way. It's miraculous that I didn't get knocked over.
A narrow escape, giving this fisherman a whale of a tale to share.
I'm telling you, he is going to need a bigger boat. Up next, one of the biggest air attacks on Ukraine's capital in months, and that barrage could have included Russia's hypersonic missiles, and yet air defense systems there worked. We're going to take you to Kyiv with more on how well U.S. defense systems protected that city. Let's head around the world in 80 seconds. Unless you drink your coffee black, you might want to listen up. The World Health Organization is out with a new recommendation, and it's to stop using artificial sweeteners to manage your weight. Now, the WHO says not only is long-term use not effective, but that artificial sweeteners could increase the risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and mortality in adults. In New Zealand, a fire ripped through a hostel in the capital city of Wellington. The Prime Minister says at least 6 people were killed. Dozens more managed to escape safely, but police are still trying to account for everyone. And so far, they still don't know what started it. And the United Nations made history today when it commemorated the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians for the first time ever. Now, this resolution marked 75 years since Israel was created after World War II. In response, the Israeli ambassador slammed the event as shameful and called for countries to boycott it. The event was attended by member states from Asia, Africa, Central and South America, and the Middle East. The United States and Britain did not attend. And a deadly cyclone named Cyclone Mocha hit Myanmar and Bangladesh over the weekend. Authorities are still trying to figure out the death count, but it's already clear that Cyclone Mocha left hundreds of thousands of people homeless. And in Ukraine, authorities say that they stopped a major Russian air attack on Kyiv today. Now, that attack included 6 hypersonic missiles. They were among 18 different missiles fired at the city. Now, Russia has stepped up its air campaign in recent weeks, and Ukrainian officials say today's attack is proof it still needs stronger defense capabilities. NBC News foreign correspondent Molly Hunter has more.
Tonight, the Ukrainian Air Force claiming victory, thwarting the biggest Russian missile attack in weeks, downing all 18 Russian missiles fired at the capital of Kyiv on Tuesday, including, the Ukrainian Air Force says, 6 of Moscow's most advanced conventional weapons, hypersonic Kinzhal missiles. Thanks to the newly deployed Western air defenses, including the U.S.-made Patriot air defense systems. The attacks were carried out as Ukraine's President Zelensky returned from a successful European tour. And tonight, he's rallying more support.
Altogether, we are showing what our 100% mean.
The fiercest fighting is in what remains of the eastern city of Bakhmut, seen here in a drone feed above what was once city streets. Today, in an unverified video posted on Telegram, Yevgeny Prigozhin, head of the Russian mercenary Wagner group fighting there, claimed an American was killed in Bakhmut. The State Department says they're aware of the report, but offered no confirmation. Meanwhile, a dramatic public move by the CIA, releasing an emotional recruitment video, seeing an opportunity, offering Russians a secure way to pass information to the agency. People around you may not want to hear the truth, the video says, but we do. Tonight, the Kremlin calling it a convenient resource for tracking applicants.
Molly Hunter, thanks so much. Now, how do you split paying bills between you and your partner? That topic is popping up online because of actress Gabrielle Union and her husband, former NBA player Dwayne Wade. Union says they split everything 50-50. Is that controversial? NBC's Hallie Jackson has more.
New money talk from actor Gabrielle Union, revealing she and her husband, former NBA player Dwayne Wade, split their money right down the middle.
It's weird to say I'm head of household because in this household, we split everything 50-50. But in the other households that each of us have to support, it puts this, there's always this like gorilla on your back that it is like, you better work. You better work.
Union opening up in an interview on a Bloomberg original series called Idea Generation.
I get nervous, like, oh God, that movie didn't open. You know, well, what does that mean? Am I going to have enough to hold everybody up? And everyone's like, it's coming. Like, calm down.
All of it clearly hitting a nerve online. Union's comments going viral as a lot of people talk about how they handle their money and how couples handle cash.
Now, how are you living paycheck to paycheck when your husband got money? 50-50.
The back and forth over how to split the bills, nothing new for most couples.
For some reason, people just don't want to talk about their money, couples especially. And having that money talk with your partner is one of the most important things that you can do in your financial life and for financial security for both of you.
These days, about 29% of marriages are something described as egalitarian, according to a new study, which basically means that both partners contribute about half of what they make. To put that number in perspective, back in 1972, it was just 11%. The generation most likely to have separate accounts? Millennials. 69% of them report having at least some cash in separate places.
There may be couples that decide to split 50-50, but there are also couples that may say, hey, we're going to look at our household income, how much we each contributed to that number as it's combined, and then we're going to split our finances based on that.
Money can be one of the biggest flashpoints in a relationship, with 64% of couples saying they're financially incompatible with their partners. That's not the case for Alexandra Hayes Robinson and her husband.
I think we're very lucky that money has never been a touchy subject for us.
So how do they do it? She says they decided long ago to split the bills based on how much money each of them made. The one who makes more pays more. And today, they're happier for it.
We haven't officially merged our finances in the way that, like, we have one bank account and everything we both make go into one account. But we've merged our finances in, like, the, spiritual sense, I guess. We think about everything we have as one pot. There will be a lot of opportunity for us to have lots of kind of financial tension in our relationship, and there just isn't.
Hallie Jackson, thanks so much. Before we go, we got to check in on the future of everything. If you watch this show, you know we are obsessed with artificial intelligence. Now we've got an interview with one of the CEOs leading the AI revolution. That's coming up next. And earlier tonight, we heard from the CEO of OpenAI, the company responsible for ChatGPT. He is and has been calling on Congress to do more to regulate the very technology he helped create. And this, as CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin had an exclusive interview with the CEO of Microsoft about his own hopes and fears for the future.
There's been a lot of people talking about AI and the potential for AI for a very long time. When do you think you realized the moment at which you said, okay, this is not just a pipe dream anymore, this is real?
Yeah, a couple of moments. So the first time it started showing, I'll call it emergent qualities, right? When it learned to code, when it was not trained specifically, that's when I felt like, wow, this is different.
Different in that generative AI essentially learns and increases its own capability, which has some worried it could surpass human intelligence. That leaves CEOs like Microsoft's Satya Nadella grappling with the balance of business and responsibility. There is a big question about whether all of this is moving too fast. What do you think?
The way I think about this is the following. A lot of technology, a lot of AI is already there at scale, right? Every news feed, every sort of social media feed, search as we know of it before chat plus search, they're all on AI. I describe them as the autopilot era. So in an interesting way, we're moving from the autopilot era of AI to co-pilot era of AI. So if anything, I feel, yes, it's moving fast, but moving fast in the right direction.
Microsoft has invested billions in OpenAI, whose ChatGPT rocketed through the tech world since its release last fall. AI's ability to write content, help people code, and generate disinformation has raised alarms in Washington.
And now, for some introductory remarks. Too often, we have seen what happens when technology outpaces regulation.
In a hearing on Capitol Hill today, Senator Richard Blumenthal used a voice cloning AI program to deliver remarks that he says were written by ChatGPT to share his concerns.
My worst fears are that we, the field, the technology, the industry, cause significant harm to the world.
OpenAI CEO Sam Altman was there, calling on Congress to create new safety standards, even a new government agency to oversee AI companies.
We think that regulatory intervention by governments will be critical.
Nadella also says regulation is needed, but that companies do not need to wait for the government to step in. What scares you about this?
A couple of different things. In fact, what scares me the most is what I'll call it societal choices do we make? We definitely want the benefits of this technology, and we want to mitigate the unintended consequences.
But Nadella also sees the potential.
Steve Jobs had this beautiful, beautiful line, right, which is computers are like the bicycles for the mind. We now have an upgrade. We have a steam engine for the mind.
For NBC News, Andrew Ross Sorkin, Redmond, Washington.
Andrew, thanks so much. Now, it is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and this next story takes us to a vineyard in Oregon that's home to the first Korean American winemakers in the state. NBC's Kathy Park has their story.
Oregon's Willamette Valley is home to more than 700 wineries. Domaine Drouin, Yamhill, Bjornson, and now Cho.
Initially, when we had named our winery, we weren't going to name it after ourselves. Will anyone buy a wine with the Asian American or Asian name on it? And at some point, we just said to ourselves, let's just do it. Let's just embrace it and be ourselves.
Dave and Lois Cho did make a name for themselves, becoming the first Korean-American winemakers in the state, according to the Regional Wine Association. To make their dream a reality, Dave went back to school for winemaking, and Lois left her job as a nurse practitioner to become CEO of Cho Wines. Their journey has been a family affair, with 3 kids and grandma along for the ride. Sourcing grapes from nearby vineyards until they had their own, the Chos launched their label during the pandemic, reaching customers through social media.
Lots happening in the cellar right now.
Nationwide, there are only a few dozen API vintners, but Asian immigrants are deeply rooted in building some of the earliest wineries along the West Coast. In the mid-1800s, Chinese laborers who had worked on the railroads also helped plant vines and excavate wine caves in California's Sonoma Valley. Nearly 2 centuries later, the Chos are breaking barriers too.
Talk to me about the challenges of getting something like this started.
So you're looking at the whole team for wine. So this is a 2-person operated winery.
But their budding business is growing toward a future estate.
Eventually, the goal is to have everything here from start to finish.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll do our production here. We'll do our tasting room here, grow the vines here.
And they're beginning to see the fruits of their labor.
I get jazzed about this. This is awesome.
Kathy Park, NBC News, Willamette Valley, Oregon.
And taste the fruits of their labor, too. Kathy Park, thanks so much. That does it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. We'll see you tomorrow. But until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.